So I thought I'd just take a minute to show you what I'm doing here. This planter was full of kind of short snapdragons last year. I just planted it with a variety, and you can see about how tall they were. These are what is left over. And in my area here in South Central PA, snapdragons are a annual. However, that being said, I want you to see here. So it's mid-March. We had a pretty mild winter. And even sometimes with a harsher winter, you can still salvage snapdragons. So I'm just cutting off this leftover from last year, snipping it off with my gardening pruners, and we're gonna see if we can coax these out to grow again. Now, you could trim these down in the fall and then see what you get come spring. But I like to allow this to stay and the leaves that kind of get caught in there as like some insulation factor for the plants. So you can do it however you want. Also, additionally, the seed pods from the snapdragon, let's see if we can get a good picture here, kind of resemble a dragon, which I think is why they're called snapdragons, or a skeleton or a skull. I've had people say they look like a skull, but they are loaded with seeds, and there will actually be a lot of volunteers that are going to come from this as well. So let's see if we can show you the seeds in here. They're a little black. That one really wasn't the best, depending on how they're hanging. Can also depend on what we get out. Okay, so there's the seed finally. You can also harvest those, keep those over winter, and then sprinkle them about in the spring. But we'll have lots of volunteers from that as well. So I'm going to continue to cut these off and just let them grow now. Now I also want to mention this one here that I just snipped off doesn't really have the green leaves like this one does. But the roots are still good. There is still life in the stem here, so we'll see what happens with the little sunshine and warmth. Now I just want to show you that I have some other snapdragons that I have done the same thing to over here. Look at that. So we'll just kind of follow these along. Even if you can't get your snapdragons to pull through the winter, you will get a lot of volunteer seeds, little sproutings from the seeds, even with the seeds just doing what they naturally do. So I'll try to show you some of those too. So here we are. It has been, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 weeks since I first filmed showing you how we were gonna salvage these snapdragons. And you can see I've got a lot of growth. Even some I wasn't sure about. There's some growth down in there. And this one over here is doing really well. Now I just have these throughout my yard here and there. You can see here, look at that. Fantastic. So I'll bring you back in a few more weeks for another follow-up. Oh my goodness, would you look at these? Okay, so it is now, today is May 10th. And look, we almost have blooms on our ones that came back from last year. On our seedlings, look at them, they're beautiful. And over here, these ones are doing magnificently. Also, almost blooming. Won't be long. So, and then I have the ones out front. Let me take you there. So, an advantage to getting them to go from last year's plants is that you end up with a larger plant early on, which is exciting. Now here, don't be confused. The one that's blooming is a fresh one I planted this year. Okay, so there's our new one. There's one from last year. And there's one from last year. And over here is one from last year. So now I don't have any seedlings coming up here. They can, and they may still. It's a little harder for the seedlings to come up in the mulch, but they do it. So I'll bring you back one more time to see these guys blooming, and then we'll call this video complete. So here's those red snapdragons. They are blooming. The yellows are blooming. Got almost some blooms here. They should be doing well. It is May 16th. Now these aren't blooming yet, but I also want to show you these. Take note over here. That is a new snapdragon I planted this year. Okay, see that size? Look at that. That is one from last year. So you see, not only do you save money, but you're going to start out typically with a much larger, more robust plant. This here, no blooms yet on this, but you can see it's going to be big. I mean, it's huge. Over here too, it's left over from last year as well. Much larger. Those are the tall snapdragons. Much larger than my new ones that I planted this year, right here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try to salvage your snapdragons next year, and talk to you later.